have a dossier on me?
Yeah, but it is about you as a government official being the architect of the policy.
So those things are
having sex parties and having dance parties while businesses are being shut down. And New York sees an unemployment that's twice the national average as a result of policy.
My wife and I had a party with like 10 people who everybody got vaccinated, not vaccinated, everybody got tested and things like that.
There was over 12 people when the gatherings at that point you had to do in secret because no one else could gather 10 or more. If you could do it all over again, would you do it the same way? Or would you allow people their freedoms and not harm New York City like you did?
Today, I introduced you to Dr. J. Varma, the man widely touted as the COVID architect in charge of New York City's COVID response, the right-hand man to Mayor Bill de Blasio, who in his own words convinced the mayor to do the mandate. In short, the man who brought down a city that had 2,800 small businesses closed, never to be reopened, a city of failing test scores after over 1 million students were kept out of classrooms for more than a year, and a city where tens of thousands of New Yorkers simply left. Today's Mug Club Undercover video saw Varma brag to our journalist about his medical background at places like the CDC, his newfound celebrity.
It's kind of a treat to hear you describe me as a celebrity.
His influence over the city. How he was able to force mass vaccination on people by making them, quote, uncomfortable through applying both financial and social pressure.
It's like, I'm just gonna get vaccinated.
And he even gleefully bragged that he was the man responsible for making it impossible for Kyrie Irving to play for the Nets. I wonder how Mr. Irving feels about that.
So I like to keep that stuff private.
Of course, Varma himself wasn't affected. While New Yorkers were allowed to gather indoors and many watched their loved ones die alone, he bragged about having drug-fueled sex parties. You can watch the whole piece by clicking the link in the description there. But something important here, in reviewing the footage, one thing stood out to me. Not once did he show anything resembling remorse.
Yeah, you can keep it, yeah.
Never once did this man, the trusted authority for New Yorkers, and for many across the country, ever seem to have a remote interest in self-reflection or even the possibility of acknowledging the destruction that residents faced as the result of his policy. And if he's so sure about the righteousness of the policies he advocated, why didn't he follow them? Why did he demand submission through fear from the citizens of New York over something that he did not fear himself at all? That's the question that ate at me, and one that hasn't been answered by any of those caught violating their own guidelines since 2020, from Gavin Newsom to Gretchen Whitmer to Nancy Pelosi. Now, we may never be able to get them to answer, but today, I was able to ask Dr. J. Varma.
Oh my gosh!
There you go.
Nice to meet you. No.
No, we do some corporate events and stuff like that too. So he's one of those clients. Yeah.
Yeah, we actually had a problem with one of the. I'll talk to you about it later, but.
Oh my gosh, this is so random.
I know.
Like, what are the odds in New York City?
Well, I wasn't supposed to be here, but I just got into town here yesterday. So.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how exciting! Well,
Are you good?
we're just.
Oh, I haven't been here.
What are you doing right now?
Supposed to be working, but I don't think I'm.
Okay.
You want to,
Do you want to have?
yeah,
do you
grab a
want-
drink. Grab a
Okay,
drink.
cool. We're just we're gonna have one drink and then get out of
Okay.
here. So,
Sure. Yeah. Do you mind if I grab this chair?
oh my gosh.
Does that work? Okay, I'll speak. Yeah.
So what do you work on then?
Well, I work in media, but it's one of those things, a big guilt complex. So we have to do these fundraisers every now and then. And it's like, save the koalas or turpid sloth or whatever the hell it is.
So you're saving the whale?
It's an environmental thing. Or not. I don't really know how much we're. You hope the money goes to the right place.
Yeah,
after.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how do you two know
He's
each
in
other?
healthcare. He's really smart.
Yeah.
Why is that funny?
I don't know why.
I would assume.
That's a very interesting way. Like, he's very smart.
Well, I mean, anyway, I just remember hating whenever I took some sort of science class or whatever. So when I do meet anyone in healthcare, I'm like, okay, I already know that you're like way
But
smarter
that's
than
always the
me.
thing. Like, you get attracted and are interested in people who have skills that you don't have. Right?
Yeah.
Like when I meet people who are like artistic and stuff, I'm always like, oh, wow, like, what do you do? Because I can't
Yeah.
draw. Or,
Well, I would be scarier if you said he's in healthcare, he's really dumb.
Yeah, I know, right?
The last word for anesthesiology.
I'm so sorry, my boss is calling me. I have to say, I will be right back. Sorry, you two get to know each other for a second.
There was a period during which there were no restrictions, no mandatory restrictions in New York, and I know this, I was always on the ball. There were no mandatory restrictions, and there was widespread COVID. And what happened? The entire city shut down because no cafe had a work.
But my point is, when there were shutdowns and restrictions, it seems like rules for thee, not for me, if you're having sex parties with people in hotels.
I think the idea with all of that was basically, again,
If you're having sex parties and dance parties with 200 people while people there get punished if there are 10 or more at a gathering, or more than 40, and you have a dance party of 500 people, that seems like... My question is, you obviously doing that...
Isn't that true with everything, though, in life?
No, not everyone's having sex parties when they encourage lockdowns for other people.
No, but there's a million rules.
If you weren't afraid of it, why those policies, my point? If you're afraid of it, you wouldn't be having sex parties and you wouldn't be having dance parties with 200 people when everyone else is locked down.
No, because I'm saying that it's not...
And not checking for vaccinations.
It's not individual.
Right?
No, those are totally different issues. I mean, I think
what I'm talking about.
What I'm trying to get at is the main issue is it's not about individual level risk. It's the same thing as driving.
But it is about you as a government official being the architect of the policy.
So those things are
having sex parties and having dance parties while businesses are being shut down, and New York sees an unemployment that's twice the national average as a result of policy.
During the time, I wasn't going to any dance parties in the first year and a half of COVID. I don't know what you're talking about.
You weren't having sex parties? And then dance parties?
No, my wife and I had a party with like 10 people who everybody got vaccinated. Not vaccinated, everybody got tested and things like that.
There was over 12 people when the gatherings at that point you had to do in secret because no one else could gather 10 or more. People were dying alone because they couldn't visit members in the hospital.
That's not... I think you're missing the bigger picture.
And when you had 200 at the dance party, that's 5 times the amount for everyone else living in this city.
I wasn't at any big... I don't know why you're talking about me specifically. I wasn't at any dance parties. I was literally...
Sure you did. Yeah, you did. You had a dance party of 200 plus people. You didn't check their vaccination status.
No, we...
That I went to?
Secret.
Yeah.
Just like,
when?
Oh, we're trying to move in.
No, you want to bring it up.
So our parents are coming this week, actually, like later this week.
Like in the summer, I think the first time I went to a dance party was like the summer of
coming from Korea.
20...
you understand, though, how that's a tough sell to the American people, the business
owners. We had an outdoor event in July.
I get to spend more time with
the summer
of like food or something.
COVID or something like that.
And then
I think we were at an outdoor event in the summer of 2020.
I don't know how much
I wasn't at an event the summer of 2020.
So
it was an outdoor event.
You had sex parties.
You have a dossier on me?
Yeah.
Why? What is going on here?
Well, you know, a lot of people have been affected by this policy, and my question is genuinely, just level with me here.
More offensive?
You weren't afraid of it. Here, we got the mandate clip.
But why? What is going on here?
Get vaccinated? Sex parties. That you had sex parties where you rented a hotel. Everyone had a blast. The timeline is that is during the time when people were still being locked down. And then he had dance party later on. This was in May or June of 2021, which still would have been 5 times beyond the amount that everyone else in the city was permitted.
Yeah, so when the war happened, and they split.
Yeah, the summer of 2021.
And Kyrie Irving wasn't able to play basketball because he wouldn't be vaccinated. But you're at a dance party.
What's going on here? Are you trying to like...
Yeah, I can tell you. So I'm Steven Crowder.
Okay.
And I know everything that you have been talking about.
Okay.
And a lot of people have been negatively affected by your policies here in this country. And I just want you to level with me at this point. If you were living where you're not afraid of it, where you say, I mean, right now you're giving me the story of it's only a certain amount of people who wear masks. You're having sex parties while that's happening. You're having dance parties.
I'm also telling stories to somebody.
And you also...
It's probably better if you get married.
And the teachers, you have kids. I mean, New York, the results have been abysmal. I mean, the decline in mathematics and education, the reading levels, it's twice the national.
But now, I don't know.
At what point is there some accountability or culpability for people in this city? This city is not what it was.
I liked moving in with short-term.
You're the architect of COVID policy. If you could change it, would you still do it?
Yeah, when you live with someone, whether they're a roommate
You
or...
recording
still do it?
I didn't realize that I was being set up for something.
I'm Steven Crowder, and this is going to be for the public to see. If you have anything that you want to say about it. I have that question. I have one more question. De Blasio, is he a weenie because he didn't enforce more authoritarian measures, or is he a weenie because he didn't stand up to the teachers union who irreparably harmed children?
But, you know, dad's getting what dad's calling.
Is he a weenie because he didn't do more to lock people down while you were living high on the hog? Or is he a weenie because he didn't have the spine to stand up to the teachers union, who I think we would both agree.
My dad was saying like, oh, he read this news article.
Corrupt, and didn't do what was in the best interest of the kids, and harmed a generation of students.
He's like, oh, it's very logical. And then my mom's like, on the more emotional side, she was like,
I wanted kids in school. The mayor wanted kids in school, but the teachers union didn't. The teachers union wanted all the teachers to stay home with Zoom so they'd be safe, even though it means the kids get hurt. So the mayor was screwed. But then he said he has to work for them for like votes.
I'm not gonna be like, that's the surest way to ensure you'll never get.
You know how tough that is for a parent to take?
Yeah. It's the long game, like you're saying.
Dude,
Do you have children in school?
it's the same thing. In 5 years, it won't really matter what the order you get it in. Yeah.
How do you think Kyrie Irving's going to react?
Exactly.
When he wasn't allowed to play basketball, and the people who
Should be good though.
enacted that policy
Dude, that's excited for it.
were having orgies, effectively.
This has a lot of weight to it.
I'm not sure there's anything that I'm going to say that you would report accurately, so I'm not sure.
These are your quotes.
Yeah, you know, I'm also babbling in what I thought is a date with somebody. And my wife and I have an open relationship. That is not something I'm afraid to talk about.
No, I don't. I'm not judging your sexual choices.
I have no qualms. You can talk about my wife. You can talk about me.
I'm not. I'm judging the violating of policies that you enacted that decimated businesses and families while having sex parties.
I'm not that there was one that I can remember.
And dance parties.
I went to a party
while other people, if they would have done so, if they didn't have the luxury of government protection,
there were lots of
could have been
people.
arrested.
In the summer of 2021, things were open.
The guidelines were 10 people or less.
Now it's dominant.
Not indoor gatherings.
You're gonna be like, shit,
Yeah,
Chef
then
got
maybe.
married?
Actually, no. I'm sorry. Well, actually, by the way,
I had to be kind of sneaky about it, rented a hotel, because hotels didn't want people gathering there in line with the policy that was your architecture.
No, that's
because I was like running the entire COVID response in the city.
That is we can talk about the dance event, though, by the way. I wasn't actually working for the city anymore at that time. I actually officially ended my response. I officially did my break in August 30th. I'm sorry, April 30th of 2021.
Yeah.
And I was, at that time, I was purely consulting.
So just the remnants of your policy that you were violating at that
There were
time.
other people setting policies at that time.
Yeah, but you believe in those
I was not
policies.
a
You
city
encourage
employee.
those policies. You encourage more aggressive policies.
But there was not a gathering restriction in the summer of 2021, was there?
Yeah, it was. It was 40 people or less.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I thought less indoor dining.
And you know what? I don't blame you.
Indoor dining
It was really hard. It was really hard to
was-
keep track of that, wasn't it? At that point
No,
in time.
well, I wasn't but in the summer of 2021, were there still restrictions on?
When you were just a citizen at that point, and you have to step past the landmines laid by people like you who are now in your position.
I don't think there were restrictions on indoor gatherings, were there? I don't remember, actually, honestly. I have to go back and look to be sure. But no, I wasn't a city employee at that time.
What about pressure, using mandates to pressure people and harass people? It's just to make them feel uncomfortable enough that they'll do what you want them to do. Is that how government serves their people in New York City?
I think the way government works in general is I was using the speed limit example, and you sort of skip by that. You know, we actually that's a reasonable analogy to how policies are set by government, right? We know there's a certain expectation, unfortunately, that not everybody's going to comply with the rules of law. Like, for example, right here, there's seats, there's a law.
Sure.
And so the main reason you set rules in government is so that you change, again,
to ruin people's
You know how,
lives.
like, people on the East Coast.
If you think that that's ruining people's lives,
With
people are dying
vaccines,
en masse.
it's like, oh, you can't get a job, you can't go to a restaurant, you can't go to school. It's like, I'm just going to get vaccinated.
No,
That sounds like destroying someone's life to me.
it isn't destroying people's lives. It's actually saving their lives.
Oh, okay.
We have vaccines
So it
that
worked
are
like a charm in New York, even though you had a higher death rate than the average across the nation.
No, if you
Higher
look at
than
all the
Dallas,
Miami.
Miami.
Are you kidding me? You don't know the numbers, man. Look at all the data on this. All of the numbers.
I do
all
have the
the
numbers.
studies that are done on this. Have you actually looked at the epidemiologic data? I think we're done.
So the deaths in New York City actually were about 46,000.
Thank you very much.
558 per 100,000 residents. Miami was 13, so 494. Dallas
Look at the data on the
was
difference
284
between-
per
look at the data on the
100,000.
difference after
So you had
vaccines.
twice the rate.
Look at the data on after vaccines became available on the death rate. And all the studies that have been done, if you actually want to look at the data on excess mortality, it is abundantly clear everywhere.
Is it really? What is abundantly clear is can't get a job, can't go to school, can't go to a restaurant. This, of course, extends to running a business. I'll get a vaccine.
Example. Why, I don't understand how you don't understand the Omicron example. When
I don't understand why you don't understand the freedom example while you're having gay sex parties and people are losing their livelihoods and people are losing their ability to play professional sports or, by the way, to be a manager at a local company because you decide that they should be uncomfortable and feel harassed so that they get a vaccine.
It's the same reason we have regulations on everything.
To harass the American citizens?
No, the people in this restaurant, they have to have rules to keep track of how clean they are. And do you want all those removed?
How clean are sex parties while you're on lockdown? How clean are sex parties when you're on lockdown? Because most Americans, I would say, yeah, thanks. I got the bill, so you don't have to worry about it if that's the case.
Okay, thank you, sir.
I'm a gentleman that way. I really was hoping you'd level with me, man. It's very clear you weren't afraid of it, and it was rules for other people.
You're not actually interested in listening to things that I actually talked about. I tried to give an example about Omicron. You wanted a question about when things change and when they don't change. You know, when things, what happens when you have diseases, like when there are restrictions.
If you could do it all over again, would you do it the same way? Or would you allow people their freedoms and not harm New York City like you did? Looking back,
I think that everybody who worked in public health and healthcare during COVID was saving lives.
Really? By harassing them and making them uncomfortable.
Our house now is kind of in the...
Saving lives. And that's how a certain subset of our country see it. Lockdowns, unprecedented numbers of businesses closed forever, vaccine mandates, and unprecedented abuses of vast government power. If that's what you view as saving lives, and you are in a position of authority where you can make a difference, I will find you. I will expose you, and I will shame you.